my name is Malik Abbasdab. Welcome to PM Express. One morning I came to work and then I received a message from a colleague of mine at the multimedia group. He was asking me for 300 Ghana cedis in a message on Facebook. I instantly had a hunch that this was not right because the person is not one to ask me for money. So I called him up and I said, I just received your message. Did it come from you? He said, absolutely not. I have no idea what you are talking about. Someone had hijacked his Facebook account and used it to solicit for money. If you are on social media, chances are you have received these kinds of messages before. How pervasive is the problem of cybercrime? That's the topic we are discussing today. When we come back from the break, I will introduce my guest who will provide all the answers in this area. Now, watching PM Express, keep watching. You're welcome, you're watching PM Express, and today we are talking cybersecurity, what you call in local parlance, Sakawa. My guest is Albert Enchi Buisiaku. He is a cybersecurity advisor to government. Albert, welcome to PM Express.
Thanks so much.
And Albert has been on this show before, and we have had similar discussions around this.
Right.
When we say cybersecurity, what do we mean?
It's great. Cybersecurity is a big word. First of all, thank you for having me here, and also to your viewers. I think it's an important conversation just because next week there is an important event, which is the National Cybersecurity Week.
Okay.
A week dedicated to cybersecurity awareness, bringing different stakeholders together to talk about the emerging trends of cybercrime, but also the various activities that at the individual level, businesses, governments are doing and are supposed to do to make sure we secure our cyberspace. I think it's good to have that background. When we talk of cybersecurity, it entails a lot of activities. One, it includes the behavior of the user, appropriate user behavior.
And you have to forgive me, Albert.
Sure.
Not all of us are tech savvy as
Correct.
yourself.
Correct.
So you have to break down the language
Absolutely.
in a manner that all of us can
Absolutely.
have an appreciation of what you're talking about.
I think you're right. I think we need to reach out to everybody to appreciate the discourse and to benefit from that as well.
Absolutely.
Cybersecurity implicates their cyber insecurity. So the various activities, processes, initiatives, engagements that are designed to protect a user from potential
Who is a
cyber
user?
threats. A user can be a person who has purchased a smart device and you are using them. You are connected to the internet. A user can be an employee of a business organization who uses the computer systems within that business environment. A user can be somebody who works within a government department, uses a computer system to facilitate government-related engagement and communication. So let me take a user behavior. If, for example, you are using a computer and you avoid visiting certain malicious website or certain site which you are not supposed to visit, it means you are achieving cybersecurity. Technology-wise can also help us achieve cybersecurity. You purchase a laptop and you buy appropriate antivirus and you install it on your machine. Technically, you have also achieved cybersecurity. You have organization. If you develop guidelines that says possibly this is a sensitive machine, so you cannot go to download music from any of the torrent websites. Policy-wise, you are also achieving cybersecurity. If a business runs cybersecurity awareness training or a training program aimed at educating them to appreciate the risks of using technology, it is cybersecurity. The way we also think and behave ourselves can also constitute cybersecurity.
So let's come down to the subject of our discussion today, cybercrime. What constitutes cybercrime?
All right. Possibly that question should have come earlier before we talk about the security. Cybercrime can be looked at it broadly as the use of ICT, internet computer devices, to facilitate an activity that is deemed criminal or immoral or unacceptable behavior. You can look at cybercrime from the legal perspective. That means you need to have a legislation that says this particular behavior constitutes criminality. If you do commit that, this is a possible offense. These are the consequences. So Ghana, legally, we have Electronic Transactions Act, for example. It's one of the brilliant...
We're talking about Act 772 of 2008.
Excellent, thank you. We also have Data Protection Act, because if you breach data protection rules, there could also be consequences, and other subsidiary legislations. So that's the legal perspective of cybercrime, where a jurisdiction like Ghana has identified specific cyber behavior that constitutes a criminal offense under our laws. Then you also have certain moral codes. You know, as a country, in our constitution say we have a certain moral standard as a country. So if you also breach that moral code in the cyber environment, that could also constitute a cybercrime.
Quite recently, an IT company or IT consultancy firm in Kenya, Siriamo, put out some figures indicating that the value of loss to Ghana in 2016 alone as a result of cybercrime was $50 million. If you look at it Africa-wide, it's actually more. It's about $895 million. That's how much 5 countries in Africa lose through cybercrime. But Ghana is $50 million. Are these figures conservative, given what you know, or they are exaggerated?
Well, we need to appreciate the fact that cybercrime is a big problem. I've seen the Kenyan organizations work. It doesn't entirely reflect the picture, but I think it's a good attempt in terms of quantifying losses to cyber, in terms of direct losses and possibly indirect losses. I think it's good. Let's look at it. It's something that we need to encourage for us to better appreciate the trends. Bank of Ghana also shares some information, and CID, based on the cases which are also reported, right? So there are various, sources of data that give us a broader picture as far as the problems of cyber are concerned. But we can also reference, for example, ITU.
International Telecoms Union.
Absolutely. They do assessment. They don't really look at the losses in terms of monetary losses, but they do assessment to gauge the cyber readiness of a country across legislations. Do we have the laws? Are we operationalizing the laws to respond to cybercrime cases? Do we have the institutional framework in terms of structures, reporting lines, monitoring, evaluation? Do we have the capacity, technically, to be able to, let's say, investigate cases or able to monitor our network to detect possible attacks for remediation? How well are we positioned as a country as far as international cooperation is concerned? And the general awareness of cybersecurity of the citizens constitute this assessment.
You just spoke about the Bank of Ghana, that's the central bank, and other institutions making some assessment. Do we know what the cost is of cybersecurity to the nation, cybercrime to the nation?
Well, once again, it's difficult because you have different agencies reporting, based on what comes to them. As a remedy, one of the things we're doing, and we're engaging with the Council of Europe, is to build capacity for criminal justice statistics. Before the end of the year, we have a project with the Council of Europe. It's one of the initiatives being undertaken by government through the Ministry of Communications to make sure that we are able to better obtain stats, so that it won't be the Kenyan IT firm saying this. As a nation, I think that's one of the areas that we need to develop. Able to collate all the various data which is coming into the ecosystem. Bank of Ghana received report in terms of cyber breaches. The data protection also is an agency that is mandated to receive report. The CID absolutely is one of the agencies. So we're developing a mechanism to ensure that at the end of the month, we have a total idea of how many reports and how much we involve, the amount of money the nation lost, so on and so forth. However, I would like to continue a minute. To be able to effectively bring all these stakeholders together, in other words, to have the foundation for your cybercrime statistical reporting, that means you need to have certain institutional framework, right?
We will deal with the institutional framework. The reason why we are having this discussion at this time is because, and I'm sure you are aware of this, that only this week, a number of Ghanaians were arrested in the United Kingdom because they are alleged to have been involved, and Yoko played a part in this, involved in what they call romance fraud, amounting to £5 million, such a colossal amount. How pervasive is this problem in Ghana? People posing as what they are not and preying on people, promising them love and taking money from them. 5 million, romance fraud.
We need to appreciate cybercrime as a business. So the amount of money you are talking about is actually a figure that these guys have heavily invested in as a business. And if you go into analysis of the issue, it wasn't just a single hit. It's something which was well planned, organized, and that is why you have different countries involved in this.
Tell us about it. How did it all unfold? £5 million.
I just want to give you an
That's
idea.
more than 20 million Ghana cedis.
And I've used the if I use the word cybercrime as a business. The merging dynamics. Initially, it started more like just a one-off kind of activity, you make your money. But now it's planned. That means they have a strategy. And I can build this along the evolution of even the romance fraud. Initially, it was just a simple young guy here who takes a picture of a beautiful lady, put it on a dating website.
A Ghanaian young man takes a picture of a beautiful lady.
On a dating site, attracting potential victims. Sometimes Europeans and Americans are targeted. Dating, romance. It has transformed. Now they target you not just to get you send money to them, but they also penetrate around your circles and your systems. They could send you malicious attachments, links in an email. When you click on them, it takes over your computer systems. There have been instances where they will actually give you a free device, but they have installed monitoring devices on. So whatever you communicate, whether it's a credit card details you share or whatever is, and they use that to defraud you. Right. So they set you up within a circle, and they normally target people who have got money. They have businesses, so not just personal information, but business data. They are also able to intercept them, and they use them, to defraud them. And what has happened moves along a similar analysis as far as the modus operandi of this fraudsters are concerned. So we're looking at it. We've seen a trend, a dynamics of moving from just one individual doing this into a business where somebody has to be in the UK, possibly looking for prospective victims, It's not like the marketers. They are going around and looking at who are the most vulnerable.
So it's got to a stage where they actually have representatives in other countries who are playing roles.
They do. They do. The cyber crime now is a borderless crime. It's a transnational crime. And by the way of the criminal business, they have associates in other parts of the country. And you know, different countries working together, whether they are using their account to receive the money, or they are recruiting. Some are also programming, and others are also on the ground doing one thing or the other to make sure it's sustainable.
Is cybercrime the same as Sakawa?
That is an interesting question. My understanding, Sakawa is a typology of cybercrime, if we should put it that way.
What does that mean?
Typology means it's a subset. And normally, I think it's the particular kind of fraud which is being perpetrated in Ghana, in which there is an association with spirituality. You know, as Nigerians are known for, let's say the 419 emails. When you receive those emails telling you there's an inheritance money, there's a lottery win, you know, you associate them, you know, with that. So Ghana, the form of cybercrime which is being perpetrated by our folks here, predominantly through the internet cafes some few years ago, were called Sakawa because of the spiritual connotation with their practice. Apparently, they are able to get the spiritual help to charm their potential victims into falling for them as far as whatever criminal trap that is set is concerned.
Do we have figures that indicate to us what is happening, whether it's on the increase or it's on the decline? Because it doesn't seem to me internet cafes are that popular any longer.
I think I'm really happy. I like the way you are stressing on the figures, and it's one of the top priorities for us as a country to be able to have a national figure representing cybercrime. I think it's important that we work towards that direction. When you say internet cafes are fading out, that is true. But if you remember very well, the little versus you learn in secondary school, the principle of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. We can look at that changes along that line. It doesn't mean the cybercrime has gone away because we now see in the internet cafes. Obviously, this is my internet. I'm either using the modem or I'm already, doing business here. It's just that the modus, they don't walk into the internet cafe predominantly, but they have their own devices that they are using to operate. So it doesn't. What I can assure you is any single device which connects to the internet becomes a potential target for cyber attacker. Consequently, you expect that as NCA gives you a data of the number of device smartphones which are connected to the internet, 4G penetration, devices which are coming on board increases, digitalization around the government activities, then you should expect the cybercrime to go up.
All right, let me go onto the phone lines and talk to a police officer. He is Chief Superintendent Dr. Gustav Herbert Jansen. He's a Director, Cybercrime Unit of the Ghana Police Service. Dr. Jansen, if you can hear me, good evening and welcome to PM Express.
Good evening.
Doc, do we have figures of the rate of cybercrime, whether it's on the increase or on the decline?
Good evening to your cherished viewers and to your panelists. I think I heard the voice of Albert. Unfortunately, I'm not close to my set, so I can't see what is happening there. So to answer your question, yes, let me just give some kind of history about the cybercrime unit so that at least you can understand where I'm trying to come from, or the perspective from which I'm trying to give my submission.
Please do.
The cybercrime unit was formed about 2 years ago. In fact, if I say we were not handling cybercrime cases before, I would be wrong. But apparently, the figures and the data, we don't have the statistics. So I will be doing my submission based on the last 2 years. And from the last 2 years, it's been increasing, and the amount involved that is being defrauded, the amount that is being stolen is increasing every day. So it is not a very bad situation, but it is the situation that we need to be concerned about.
What is the largest amount you would say that you have dealt with, a case in which what's the largest amount that you have dealt with as far as a case is concerned, a case which has come before you?
Is it with reference to scams or?
Yes, please.
With scams?
Yes, please.
Oh, we've had a million euros. In that particular instance, a case of advance fee. The scenario is that they told him that he's, the usual trick of the usual scheme where they will tell you we have the inheritance of, let's say, Mohammed Gaddafi and that kind of stuff, So they told him they had such an amount, and his name was a very good one to use, and that he can have 50% of it. The amount was about 100 million. So, I mean, they invited him. He saw the money, according to him. Unfortunately, when he came back to Ghana, he was not able to direct us to the exact location where they showed the money to him. But eventually, in the process, trying to they have to transfer money to immigration. They have to give some money to the police, bribe some custom officers. And in that process, they were able to take an amount of about 1 million euros.
1 million euros.
1 million, that is the highest that we have seen so far within the 2 years. 1 million euros.
Is the police equipped enough to deal with this complex crime?
Yeah, we are.
Really?
Yes, we are. You see, fighting some of these crimes, you should have quite knowledgeable, who is an expert in the area, and then sometimes when it comes to cyberspace, you need tools and equipment to do that. For expertise and the ability to do it, I think we do have, but the challenge we have is the tools. I would say we are not on top when it comes to tools to fight some of these crimes.
Is the Electronic Communications Act, which is fundamentally the law which you use to prosecute this area of crime, is it enough? Are the provisions in the law sufficient, modern, current enough to deal with this crime?
Well, I've said it time and time again, ever since this unit was formed, that we have the laws. And recently, one expert who came down from the Council of Europe also attested to this fact, that we have one of the robust laws within the sub-region. So for me, I think we have seen some few lapses here and there, or some few loopholes that I think. But I mean, we still have. Should any such case be, the only thing is that we may not have one particular law to charge somebody with an offense. We may have to do some form of joint charge, and so we will still be able to prosecute. But then I feel that we should amend the laws in a way. But I have drawn the attention of the cybersecurity advisor. I've drawn the attention of the Director of Public Prosecutions. So now that we have the policy, we will look at it and then possibly put it to the Attorney General and possibly the law Parliament as well, see if we can amend some few. But otherwise, generally, our laws are okay.
The Electronic Transactions Act 2008 is robust in your view?
Yes, it's okay. I can't, apart from some few scenarios with respect to sextortion, that we have realized that we may have put some few laws, possibly pull some from maybe the Domestic Violence Act and all that, just to make sure that we will be able to charge someone. That is the only possible. And then issues of maybe website cloning. That is what we have also identified as a loophole in our laws. Otherwise, generally, quite robust.
Dr. Youngson, if you are kind enough, please hold the line for me. Let me talk to Albert. I'll come back to you in a moment. But Albert, given what you know, and I don't expect you to criticize the police, do you sincerely believe that our police are equipped? They have the equipment enough to do this?
I think, let me correct. Criticism, as long as it's aimed at improving the environment, is good. It doesn't really matter. And I think that should be the way to go.
Good. Do you think they have the equipment?
No. The police needs to be equipped, right? The law is there. I think Dr. Youngson just mentioned that. He is an operator. He operationalizes the law as far as investigation, prosecutions are concerned. And he's made it very clear. And indeed, I support that. It is not a problem of a new legislation. It is operationalizing the legislation. When I say operationalizing legislation, I mean that there's different levels, because you have three key players within the criminal justice system. Those who are supposed to make the law work. He is one. That means he needs to be able to investigate the cases. And it's a technology, issue. It's not just normal investigations. You need equipment. You need the tools to be able to do that. And I think I gave you the genesis of how the cybercrime things are evolving. That means we need to, currently, this unit has got some capability, but we need to step up that capability. So our initial analysis is, look, CID is one of the priority areas as a country we need to resource. Wherever there is money, we need to resource them to be able to work in operationalizing the law. So that is one. I think we need to be very honest in our advice and in our consideration, so that we can, no matter how little the support is, push it to them to be able to work. So that is a handicap as far as making the law work is concerned. But there's also other people who are involved in the chain. We have prosecutors. Cybercrime is a technology-based issue. You expect also those who are going to prosecute the cases
to be properly trained to be able to do this.
And finally, those who sit on the cases, our honorable judges, the laws, those who decide whether somebody is liable, to be sent to jail, to be fined, needs to understand that. And there has been a research in the US. Judges' understanding affect their ruling on cases involving electronic evidence.
And it's only fair, because you can't pass a judgment on something which you don't understand.
Absolutely.
I have to take a break at this point. When we come back, I'll be asking Dr. Youngson. In fact, I will put to him a personal experience and the police's response. You will be amazed. You are watching PM Express. Keep watching. We will be right back. You're welcome back. You're watching PM Express, and we are talking cybercrime and related matters. My guests are Dr. Youngson, who is a police officer at the cybercrime unit of the Ghana Police Service, and a cybersecurity advisor to the government, Albert Njibuesako. Albert, your position is that the police may have some capacity, but that needs to be enhanced.
You're right. As we developing our ICT as a country, but also as we've seen cybercrime evolving due to the sophistication, I think we need to, at every point in time, also upgrade the capacity of the law enforcement. As far as forensic readiness is concerned, we need to do that. And it's a critical area as far as our country's response to cybercrime is concerned.
Let me talk to Dr. Youngson. Doc, if you can hear me, I had a personal experience. A friend of mine was defrauded. We made a complaint to the police. We called the fraudster. The police spoke to him. They were unable to trace the call, and absolutely nothing happened. And so whatever money, about 20,000 of his money, he had been defrauded of about 20,000 cedis. The police could actually talk to the guy. We called him. The police could do absolutely nothing. In fact, the police officer we reported the matter to indicated to us that many people had been defrauded, such as my friend, and that they couldn't trace the call to even determine where the location of this person and to maybe call the police around where his location is to pick him up. The police couldn't do that. Is that not a technology and capacity which is so basic and fundamental that the police should have?
Yes, I agree with you. You are very right. And it's something that we should have. And I think I also made mention of the fact that what technical capacity, we are just not on top of issues. But if the person is able to say that, the investigator is able to say that we are not able to tell the location, that is not exactly correct. We may be able to tell the location within a certain range, but then to tell exactly the pinpoint location, that is where we need some extra tools to do that. And we are working on that. But there are other methods that we use. We've made a lot of arrests, and there are other, although if we have this particular technology to help us, but we have other tools that we use, so we wish that we could be able to, if we are able to tell that it's within a certain range, the person is within that area, we should be able to comb that area with our tool just to have exact location of the person and just make our work much more easy.
When you say you have other tools, such as what?
Oh, unfortunately, I can't make it public. I can't make it public. I mean, this is something that I would want to. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't want to make it public.
That's fine. And when you say you can trace the call within a certain range, within what kind of range? And
let's say if we to put a particular, let's say within a radius of about 500 meters to 1 kilometer range, I'll be able to tell where exactly you are. But then to have the pinpoint, I need something else just to help me get the exact, the pinpoint location, and that is where we have some challenge. But then, as I said, we have other alternative means. We've made a lot of arrests based on that. Though one is not exactly what we want, but what we have for now.
Fortunately, I have the advisor to the government on cybersecurity in the studio. Let me talk to Albert. Albert, is this technology that, with your guidance, can be made available to the police?
Bobby, I have to ask you a question. Why were you so much interested in knowing the standard operating procedures of law enforcement?
Well, I just want to be, I want to be sure about the capacity and capability of my police service so that I can be sufficiently confident in them.
Let's put something in perspective. Technology is there. but then it can only be effective when the necessary conditions are in place. One of the difficulties that law enforcement had faced over a period of time is lack of identification. With the introduction of the digital addressing system, the location.
Albert, I hear people can't hear you.
You know, locating.
You're a big man, so you don't
no.
speak
Okay.
in high tone.
I wish I am. The new digital addressing system is going to be very effective because it means that in terms of locating where the suspect is, and certainly it's also going to.
But you need a suspect's code to be able to locate where they are. If you don't have it,
you do. What is happening behind the scenes is that technology will be linked to the SIM registration. So as a matter of fact, geolocation in terms of pointing locations will become easier with what is coming up. So the background is when you don't have the country environment which is well organized, formalized, it becomes difficult. That's why it's giving you certain radius. You can't go further because the country is not mapped on anything.
So you believe that this is it?
It is very, very effective. It's going to help address the issue in terms of narrow down to a suspect location. It's going to be very helpful.
Let me go back and talk to Dr. Yancey. Doc, there are those who say victims are not confident in the police because of the police incapacity to deal with cybercrime. Is that fair criticism?
Well, to some extent, maybe they are right. But you see, as I said, currently in Ghana, I wouldn't say cybercrime is an emerging crime. It's there for some time. But unfortunately, maybe as a people, we have treated it as a crime that is perpetrated against foreigners. So we were not really keen about how to fight it until probably maybe some 3, 4, 5 years ago that we started looking at it differently. So one, to build, and you see, to get a police officer to be able to effectively investigate some of these cases, he needs to be, one, an investigator. And then because it's within the cyberspace, the person should be quite knowledgeable about what pertains within the cyberspace, or possibly an IT person or a computer science guy.
Do we have such people in the service?
Oh, of course we have.
In sufficient numbers?
It may not necessarily be sufficient. And you see, you don't also need pure IT guys. There are some people who are ready to learn, and we could train them to be able to investigate a particular, not necessarily everything within the cyberspace, but particularly, let's say, fraud. Fraud is one of the simplest cases that we should be able to investigate. But of course, they need to understand the cyber ecosystem. They need to appreciate the whole cyberspace, and they need to, so that they will be able to know where to pick evidence from. So that is what we are trying to build capacity. Currently, we have a strategy in place, so that one of the things that we realized to do is to ensure that we have some kind of a manual, a training manual, so that we can start from the training school. And remember, we have almost about 32, 33 police officers, and we have a strategy in place. We've realized that we always do training when it's time for promotion. So that is the time that we can get everybody on board, train them. You know, it is not just about even an investigator. Any crime, any police officer should be able to coordinate a crime scene and then protect all digital evidence therein. So we should start from every police officer, and that is where we are trying to do. For now, we are trying to prepare our manual, and hopefully shortly we'll have it. and then thereafter the training would start through the training school, through our academy, through the command and staff college, so that we are sure that by then we are looking at a span of about 5 years, 4 to 5 years, we should train all police officers, so that then we'll continue with our training schools for those now coming in.
So that they can have some basic knowledge in this area.
Say again.
I say so that they can have some basic knowledge in this area, at least every police officer.
Exactly. So we have some challenges. I appreciate that one because we also intend to have a specialized unit like the cybercrime unit in all regions. And that would also mean that we have the men, but we started training with the assistance of the Council of Europe GLASI project. We are trying to build capacity from there to get some trainer of trainers, and then we'll be able to replicate the training in all regions so that we can get some people who cannot just investigate basic cybercrime cases like fraud, but then they will be able to the networks and all that.
Dr. Jansen, we have to leave it here. We are most grateful to you. Chief Superintendent Dr. Gustav Herbert Jansen. He's the director of the cybercrime unit of the Ghana Police Service. Doc, thank you very much. I will announce the phone line so that you can join us. The number is 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691 or 0302 211 692. Those are the numbers. If you have a personal story to share about cybercrime, please join us. Let's have a discussion so that Albert can help us on how to avoid some of the pitfalls that make people victims of this heinous crime. Albert, so we heard Dr. Jansen. He conceded that when people don't have confidence in the police's ability to fight cybercrime, they may have a basis.
No, it's true. And I think it's natural that if I become a victim of cybercrime, I walk to a police station, make a complaint, and the police is unable to act on them, then certainly the next time it happens, I wouldn't get excited going back to the police. So,
do you share his view that Ghana as a state did not pay attention to this crime because it was regarded as crime perpetrated against largely foreigners?
Not entirely for the reason that he gave, but generally research suggests cybercrime, because, like, unlike other crimes which has got a direct bearing on the individual, there is some kind of remoteness, cyber life, my data, what is really is not a big deal, right? So naturally, because it's a new crime altogether, the attention by people, by institutions, by government, hasn't been so good until recently, when we are seeing the connection between cybercrime and our national critical infrastructure.
Albert, hold that thought for me. Let me pick a few calls. Let me talk to Sharif. Sharif is calling us from Bolga in the Upper East region. Sharif, good evening. Welcome to PM Express. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Mr. Malik.
Good evening, Sharif.
Please, I want to know the difference between the Sakawa and the... Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
I want to know the difference between the Sakawa and the romance fraud.
Sakawa and romance fraud. I will ask Albert to explain that. Thank you, Sharif. Let me pick a call from Richard, who is calling us from Obuasi. Richard, welcome to PM Express. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Malik. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to your guest. Yeah, Malik, you see, this thing is a very serious thing, more serious than we know. The last time I was in Agona Swedro, and I was in this internet cafe, and can you imagine these guys have really set up a whole system that they wake up in the morning and that's all they do. They come to the cafe, they are behind the computer the whole day, and I recall that one of them was like, "Oh, I'm tired though, of sitting down," and one guy said, "Okay, you are tired. Also, you see, literally meaning that you want to get a white man's money. That is the price to pay. So you see, it's a whole profession that people are really practicing, especially at Agunas Road. Malik, it's quite unfortunate, and I would like to plead with the Ghana Police Service, the CID, and the PNI to help us not only on cyber or the electronic system, but also we used to have something we call confidence strictures. Now they are mobile money system. I'm pleading with authorities to check mobile money. I'm pleading with NCA. I've been defrauded on mobile money, and up to now, I lodged a complaint with MTN. Nothing has been done about it. So please, it's a very important topic, and we are really grateful.
Richard, thank you. Thank you for your opinions on this matter. Let me talk to Dr. Ansah, who is calling us from Chicago in the U.S. Dr. Ansah, if you can hear me, welcome to PM Express. What's on your mind?
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Yes. My concern is about what you guys have really introduced, especially the new way that Ghana has introduced to the blocking of getting people having their zip code or whatever that they call it. It is a really, really a good idea because it's destroying us here. When we go back to read and we hear about what Ghanaians are doing, it really pains me because I am a cyber. Also, I have my doctorate in computer science. And if I hear about what's going on back home, it really pains us. So these crimes can be detected and can be noticed. It's no more a kind of an issue where they would say, oh, we don't have any power to pinpoint. By this inception of whatever has been introduced now can now help the police to pinpoint. And it shouldn't be anything of which we should be diving into to tell the whole public. And then the journalists must be circumspect in the way they ask questions. It will reveal every secret so that the people, because the people don't know that by holding up your telephone, it tells you who you are and the identity. So the deeper questions will reveal everything. And as I sit down to watch you, I know that you want to know. But some other things, if you know it too much, it exposes the whole cyber thing. Because I am also helping in the U.S. here. And so that's what I wanted you people to know, that it is a laudable thing that the Akufo Addo's administration has brought in. It will cut down that kind of nonsense that is going on in Ghana.
Doc, if you may indulge me, you just spoke about how the rate of cybercrime in Ghana affects you, a Ghanaian living in the U.S. Tell us how that is. How does it affect you?
Right. Actually, it's almost like going to the bank, and then now people are being exposed. Because, it used to be the Nigerian. But now, it used to be the Nigerians. And now it is almost like because we cannot identify exactly who is behind it, the SIM card and everything now can detect whether it's a Ghanaian or Nigerian who is doing the business. So I am only praying that this national identity will be a well-organized one so we can break the nuts. Because I know that it might not come from the knowledge of the Ghanaians. Ghanaians, we are people who are God-fearing. But because we have allowed the foreigners to get into our...
Unfortunately, I can't continue with this conversation with Doc. It's a very exciting discussion we're having with him. Unfortunately, he called us from the U.S. We don't have any much time left. Albert, in 30 seconds, how can we deal with this problem going forward? That the kind of story that we have about romance fraud I mean, will minimize?
Sure, I think it's important, but we need to reach out to the Ghanaian experts, the doc who just spoke. I think we are expecting people abroad to join us to bring their expertise on board to build this together, especially as he has expressed interest in what we are doing. My colleague who also asked about the difference between Sakawa and the romance fraud. Romance fraud can be a form of Sakawa. I think the distinctive factor is if it's internet-based fraud and it involves spirituality or some kind of sacrifices, I think that can be seen as a Sakawa in our local parlance. But what I want to also share with our colleagues and those who are following the program is the cybercrime is not just a technology problem. We need to build awareness. It's very important, not just the technology.
So people must be aware. So that you can take remedial steps when you are being attacked.
70% of mobile money related fraud, based on analysis, will be prevented if we are.
On that note, thank you, Albert. Echibuese is a cybersecurity advisor to the government. He's been my guest. We have also spoken to Dr. Herbert Youngson, who is the cyber crimes officer at the cyber crimes unit of the Ghana Police Service. He joined us. Thank you to all of you who called to participate in this discussion. God willing, we will bring you another exciting discussion on PM Express. Until then, my name is Malik Abbas Dabu. Bye-bye.